Um, I um, I would like to add my thanks that already Bichik expressed to the senior high faculty, staff, and administrators for really working hard during this very, very difficult time and making sure that we are still delivering quality Ateneo senior high education. So let me add my thanks to you, my gratitude for the very hard work you are doing. Um, Allow me to share my slides. Um, I had to get out. So, so can you hear me?
Yes po, Father.
Okay, sige. Let me just, I prepared these notes for the Loyola Schools faculty, and I thought for my sharing with you this morning, I'd also just share them with you. We are very much sailing on very rough seas, as we know. It's a very trying time. There are great challenges to us as we try to cope with this pandemic, this quarantine, and that as we try to go on an online learning platform. Um, I would like to say that as we sail these very rough seas, we will try to follow certain navigational guidelines. I present three that we should be a resilient university, a resilient senior high school. Second, that we still continue to focus on deeper formation. And third, that we focus on greater social engagement, that we continue to keep our eye on providing greater social engagement. So let me just briefly a word on each. Resilient university. Resilience is sometimes we think about it that it's like a bamboo and there's a very strong wind and then the bamboo bends and because of the strong wind and then the bamboo is very resilient because it after the strong wind it goes back to its original shape. That's a nice image, but I think the call for resilience is much more than that for us. It is resilience in not in the sense of just going back to pre-COVID and how it was pre-COVID or going back to business as usual, although we know that face-to-face, in-person is still best, but first best, but it shouldn't just be going back to business as usual. Rather, our navigational guideline during this time is that the Ateneo Senior High should grow stronger under the pressure of the pandemic. The Ateneo Senior High should also emerge stronger after the COVID-19 crisis and that we become better. The Ateneo Senior High becomes much better post-pandemic in spite of and even because of the pandemic. And I hope that this is the sense of resilience that we want to build, that we are not just waiting to go back to pre-COVID business as usual, but that we really grow stronger under the pressure, we become much better. That means then that we know that we're on this online learning platform right now. The second SEM, it looks like we will continue on this online learning platform and maybe even next school year, it will be some blended sort. Nothing is clear. It's very ambiguous and uncertain. But nevertheless, we must say that we will continue to deliver quality Ateneo education on these new platforms, continue to pursue academic excellence, and that's our spirit of Magis, that we continue to deliver whole person, body, mind, spirit, Jesuit education on these new platforms. This is quite a challenge. How do we continue the Cura Personalis even if it is an online learning platform? That we continue to develop spiritual, intellectual, moral, artistic, social, and physical virtues of each person. And that we continue to conduct research, formation, also in these new platforms as we try to find God in all things. The second one is really deeper formation. Even if we are on different learning platforms now, that we will make sure that our programs will continue to advance Catholic identity, Ignatian heritage, and Jesuit mission of Ateneo de Manila. That even on these different learning platforms, we commit to integrate learning, faith, and service in the academic experiences, in whatever co-curricular life we can have, in the artistic, religious, and human engagement, and all the shared experiences of our human community. Um, I like this quote from Pope Francis that the pandemic has highlighted how vulnerable and interconnected everyone is. That if we do not take care of one another, starting with the least, with those who are most impacted, including creation, we cannot heal the world. So this formation, I hope, continues even on a different learning platform. I also would like to point out that as a Jesuit school, as a Jesuit Senior High School, we continue to form men and women for others who will be agents of change in our society. So the call to greater social engagement. The pandemic has exposed the plight of the poor and the great inequality. The virus, while it does not distinguish between people, has found that there are really great inequalities and discrimination. And we know this, I think, from our analysis and from our own experience. And therefore, I like what Pope Francis wrote, that the response to the pandemic is therefore dual. We try to find a cure for this small but terrible virus. But on the other hand, we must also try cure a much larger virus, the lack of the social injustice, the inequality of opportunity, the lack of protection for the weakest. So I hope that even during this pandemic, even if we are on different learning platforms, we continue to emphasize that we are forming our senior high students to become men and women for others, agents of change. Um, and the challenge also is that we see this as an opportunity, as Pope Francis calls us, to develop new ways of living. We need to rediscover simpler and more sustainable lifestyles. And we must cultivate values, connections, and activities that are life-giving, even in very practical things like energy use, consumption, transportation, diet, nurture life-giving ways. And this is part of our social engagement that we need to continue to focus on in spite of the coronavirus pandemic and in spite of this quarantine, in spite of being a different learning platform. Just to summarize, I've always said that we are on sailing on rough seas, difficult circumstances, but we must keep in mind what our North Star is, what will really guide our course as a Jesuit school, as a Jesuit senior high school. And I get this definition from the documents of the Society of Jesus, General Congregation 34, which really defines what a Jesuit university is. It says it's a university that participates in the Jesuit mission. It's a Jesuit is a university, therefore a Jesuit senior high school is a senior high school that participates in the Jesuit mission. Notice that the definition, it does not say that it's a Jesuit senior high school if there are Jesuits there, if it is led by a Jesuit. No, it does not. It says that it's a Jesuit senior high school if it participates in the Jesuit mission. And I think this is what should be guiding us as we travel these very rough seas in this difficult journey. And what is Jesuit mission? There are many different ways to say it, many different ways to articulate what Jesuit mission is all about. This is the latest one, what Father General Arturo Sosa calls the Universal Apostolic Preferences, which he says that we should work on for the next 10 years, beginning last year, so 2019 to 2029. And he points out four things. We need to show the way to God through the spiritual exercises and discernment. and that we need to walk with the excluded, with the marginalized. We need to journey with the youth, and as they try to create a hope-filled future. And we need to care for creation, our common home. This environmental consciousness, environmental involvement. So, in some sense, I hope that senior high school will always keep this in mind as it really tries to still deliver quality Jesuit education. We are different from LaSalle, we are different from UP, we are different from USP, we are different from all these other schools because we are a Jesuit school. And that means then that we are a school that participates, that appropriates Jesuit mission. And so, and concretely, that would mean we really train our students in the art of discernment. And I think that's really very clear that the discernment is so important as we try to imagine, reimagine this new normal. We need to have habits of reflection. We need to be clear in what we are doing, and discernment is very important. Certainly, walking with excluded is also very important. We know that the most who have been impacted by this pandemic are the poor and the marginalized. We need to walk with them. Of course, senior high, we are journeying with the youth. And if you think about it, they are really the main actors of building this next normal, this new normal post pandemic. So we journey with them, we try to understand their aspirations, their dreams, their hopes, and we try to help them realize those dreams and hopes. And of course, we know that the pandemic is very much related to how we relate to creation, our to the environment, our common home. Um, my point is that this is our North Star being the Jesuit mission. And I think if we just focus on this North Star and allow this to guide our course, our journey, we will not only survive, but I think we will really flourish as Ateneo Senior High School and also Ateneo de Manila University. Takan salamat sa inyong tanan.